Well, here is the next section in Chapter 7, and these are again concerning built-in functions. And in this particular subsection, we'll be looking at sorting, ordering, and ranking. Keep in mind that all of the built-in functions that we've looked at so far, I've been mainly applying them to scalars, that is single values, or applying them to vectors. They can also be applied to matrices and arrays as well. So let's start out here in the sorting, ordering, and ranking section by setting a vector x. And I'm going to set a vector x to 4 elements in this case. And the 4 elements I'm going to go with are 3, 0, -5, and 3. So again, you can see that appearing in the upper right-hand window, but I can also type X if I'm in R rather than RStudio, and I will see the contents of X. First function in this section I'm going to cover is the REV, which is short for reverse. If you simply want to reverse the elements of X, the REV function does that. The next one I'm going to hit here is the unique function. If you want all of the unique function or elements in X, 3, 0, -5 will be returned. Of course, that last element in X, which is the 3, is not unique, so that will not get put into the return vector. The next function is the sort function. If I want to sort the elements of X, there they are in ascending order. Sort has other arguments which I defaulted in the first case, but one of those arguments is decreasing. If instead of putting them in ascending order, I would like to put them in decreasing order, I can do that. And notice it's telling you there in the yellow that that decreasing argument has a default of false, but I'm going to override that and put in true. And there are the values of X sorted in decreasing rather than increasing order. There is another function called order, which can be quite useful. And here is order of X. Now, what that tells me is it tells me indices here. These are the indexes of the value. So if you look at that first index, which is index number 3, right here, that tells you that the third element in the matrix, or I'm sorry, the third element in the vector, which is a -5, is the smallest. This 2 here tells you that the 0 comes next in terms of the order, followed by element number 1, followed by element number 4. This can be useful if you are trying to sort in one vector but display another vector, and you'll see an example of that in just a few minutes. The last one I want to do here is the rank function. And when you type rank in this case, you'll notice this is kind of like order, whereas you have the 2 and the 1 are exactly the same. But what this one does is the rank function notices that the elements that are in the third and the fourth, in other words, the 2 top elements, both have a rank of 3.5. So this is averaging the 3 and the 4 that are returned here by R, and it's giving each of them a rank of 3.5. So similar to order, but instead, in this case, what it's doing is it's taking care of ties. I am going to go ahead and clear this out because I'm going to do an example. And this is an example, kind of an advanced example of how you can use these things. So let's put some cost values in here. I'm going to put in 12.4, 11.7, 13.5, and 13.1. Let's say those are the costs of manufacturing an automobile at 4 different facilities. Then I'm going to set up another vector called ncar. and this is the capacity, the associated capacity of each one of these plants. So for example, the first plant, which produces cars at a cost of $12,400, can produce 30.3 thousand cars per month. So I'm going to put, these are cars per month, I'm going to put these numbers in there, 16.8 and 30.0. I am going to type in the full command that I want to do to say, how should I produce these cars? And we'll kind of unwind this as we go forward. Let's start on the inside first of all. What we're going to do is we're going to start out with the cost vector. So that's going to go on the inside. And what we're going to do is we're going to order these in terms of their cost. That will give us a vector of indices. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take that vector of indices, and we don't want to display the cost, rather we want to display the number of cars that are produced from the cheapest to the most expensive. And the last thing we're going to do after that is work a cumulative sum on that, and that way you can see if you decide to run these plants from the cheapest to the most expensive, how many cars will be produced. And for some reason, I hit return and it lost it all. So let's go back and put this back in. That was n car of order of cost. And we've got to match the parentheses, and I think I've got that right. There we go. So what this says is, if you look up here, what's the cheapest in terms of cost? Well, this second plant here makes them at only $11,700 per car. So we will go to capacity at that particular plant, and that will produce 24.7 or 24,700 cars in that month. Then if we have more demand for cars, we would want to open up the second plant, and that is this plant right here. They can make cars for $12,400 a piece, and since their capacity is 30.3 thousand cars per month, you take the 30.3, add it to the 24.7, and you get 55. And of course it continues. The next thing you know is you go to this fourth plant, which operates at $13,100 per car. It can make 30,000 cars per month. So that 30 gets added to the 55, that takes you to 85. And finally, the last step is go to the most expensive plant to make cars, which they make them at $13,500. They can produce a capacity of 16.8, which is 16,800 cars per month. That 16.8 gets added to the 85, and you're at 101.8. Let's kind of unravel this starting from the inside out and just see what it looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that particular part of the command. I'll come down here and paste that in. What happened with the 2, 1, 4, 3? What's going on there is the 2 says this is the cheapest plant, that's the smallest of them, followed by plant number 1, followed by plant number 4, followed by plant number 3. If you go one level in from there, and now let's go N car, we'll copy that and paste it. Now what we have is we have the capacities, the number of cars per month. Here's the capacity for the cheapest one, that's the 24.7. Here is the next cheapest, the number of cars produced at that plant. The next cheapest is here. And finally, the most expensive has that capacity in terms of number of cars per month. And then finally, that leads you to the original command, which simply takes the cumulative sum of those particular values. And that's it for sorting, ordering, and ranking. The next topic will be properties of objects.